everyone to Clarity Talks. I'm Dr. J.
This is Allie. Here we are once again, Clarity Talks, where we get to do what, Jess?
We get to crack the code on some of the most successful entrepreneurs and C-suite and business people in our community. And today we have the privilege and the pleasure to interview one of my longtime friends and colleagues who isn't actually in our backyard. She's across the pond in Canada. So welcome, Renee.
Hi, everyone. Hi, ladies. How are you doing?
Well, thanks for being with us. And since I know her a little bit, I'm going to just jump in, Allie, and share a little bit of her high points, and then we're gonna turn it over to her through you. Okay?
Sounds perfect. Let's go. Renee, thank you for being here today. I had the privilege to spend the weekend with you, and I love you already. So I can't wait.
I feel the same. Well, same sister.
Let's go.
Right. So Renee has been Renee grew up in the fast pace of the industrialization era, where basically, credentials, education, and intelligence were leveraged through traditional employment positions. And so she comes with an array of advanced degrees in kinesiology, ergonomics, human resource optimization. She tried for a minute the corporate environment, then decided no, she needed to do her own thing and wanted to be in consulting. She's been in consulting now for a minute. And I had the privilege of having her work through one of my corporations down in Canada, or up in Canada from where we are now. We did some amazing work together, and she has continued to make an impact in the Canadian indemnification, personal growth and potential, as well as the wellness industries. So welcome again, Renee. Thanks for being with us. So Allie, you want to go ahead and start us off?
Well, I love the introduction. We just want to hear a little bit more about your background, Renee. We want people to know actually where you are now, but how did you get to where you are now? Because I think that's important for people to understand that success doesn't just happen overnight. And, there is those up and downs, and people hearing it from others, it actually motivate us to actually say, okay, well, I'm not the only one going through this. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background?
Okay. Well, I grew up around very, very strong women and women that were in the workforce. My mom, when I was young, was a single mom. Now I do have an amazing stepfather, but was single. And we at one point lived with my grandmother. And my grandmother worked for a company, and she was a bookkeeper. So even from a young age, I saw women in the workforce. And then my mom later was working in the department store industry and management. So always, everywhere I looked, I had strong women around me. And actually, I had my first job. My mom was very, very wanting me to learn responsibility very young. So by 13, I was working in a fruit store, and I had to know every price of every fruit, which actually gave me the skill of learning memorization techniques. So from 13 on, I've always worked different types of jobs in different types of fields. And I thought I originally wanted to be a lawyer. And I did my degree in economics. And then I thought, this isn't me. I've always been somebody who was very sporty and liked being active. And I thought, how can I take that part of my personality and then the business side of my personality and mesh it? And I found kinesiology, which allowed me to kind of merge those two. And now being, somebody who I thought, a self-employed person, I could do that the way it worked for me versus trying to fit myself in a box for an employer.
Nice. Okay.
I do have a question, Jess. So at the period that you wanted to be a lawyer, was that the time that you actually connected with Jessica? Was that the time that you both became friends?
No, we were friends since grade school. Yeah.
Yes, we both wanted to be lawyers in the third grade.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that, in my family background, you kind of were like a doctor, a lawyer, it was all those traditional roles, not the kind of things that you have, open to you today. It was very streamlined. And I thought, okay, corporate law. And then I'm like, I hate I hate being in the bank and I hate being in like that kind of stuff. So why not go around that energy? But I could take that business knowledge and bring it to my passion.
Awesome, beautiful. And you are an avid learner. You haven't stopped learning. I know this for a fact. You're always seeking to do advanced degrees. So what do you think about the change in the value of formalized education today? Because now with the info, the info tech and information-based market being $1 trillion industry, right? There are people out there who are making a killing and a living from being able to sell and resell and repackage information that has existed for the last, umpteen years. Talk to us a little bit about the difference between the two, because I heard you say when we saw each other this week, I think I'm going to go for another degree, maybe.
I love the question.
You know what? You're right. I love education. If somebody would say to me, we'll pay for your expenses and you just be a permanent student, and I would do it. When I go to medical school on an island, like, when you have those Caribbean medical schools, I love learning. But what I noticed is the traditional, like the foundation of my BAs, I rarely use that. It is with the continuing education, and whether it's like a day course or a week course or a month course, I find that those type of courses that I drew into kind of like my bank, my knowledge bank, are the ones that I'm utilizing. And in order to kind of keep up with what's going on, I keep on grabbing into the bank.
So practical knowledge, application, toolkits, that's what I'm hearing you say. Awesome.
Yes.
So we're going to segue a little bit. What would you say, having had the opportunity, right, based on what you have experienced in your lifetime, that old saying that, like you said, pick the traditional route, pick your lane, the traditional lane, lawyer, doctor, engineer, blah, blah, blah. Today, right, we know that on average, a young adult's going to change their profession at least 4 or 5 times. From your wisdom, what is that niche, that negative gold that you've been able to pull away from your experiences, both in the private sector marketplace, as well as from your educational background, that you want to share with our audience that's going to shorten their runway when they're looking at what's their passion, what's their purpose, where do they want to head?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Renee, but even like someone like, I would say like myself, that is at an age right now where, I know a little bit of both words, like that transaction, because this generation is kind of born in it, and then you have a lot of people that are still in the transaction of that world and this world and combine both of them. So I love the question. And, Renee, how will you describe that?
I think one thing that, I've personally done is kind of leveraging my knowledge in terms of if an opportunity presents itself and I feel that it connects with something that, a passion or an avenue that I may want to take. I may not know everything about it. I'm lucky enough to surround myself with other people who know many, many things. So I can always grab on, kind of like I said, that bank of knowledge that I have, kind of grab those people around me and say, I kind of find this interesting. Is anybody else interested? Do you want to do this together? This is what I can offer. Or if somebody says to me, I'm thinking of doing this and I know you specialize in that. What do you think? And joining. And I think it's all about collaboration. You get to the point where, you have your set of skills and the world's changing and everybody else has their set of skills. How can we join together and move forward?
Love that. Getting chills, because
I love it.
gone are the days of lateral leadership, right? Collaborative leadership is the new age of how we have to maneuver our marketplace. Okay, so I heard it. The niche really is to be humble and to surround yourself with success so that you can pull and collaborate from the areas. And, it does take humility, because many of us, and I'm not going to name, but many of us think that we know more than we think we know. And the reality is that is really limiting. It's very self-limiting, right? Because when we think that way, it's kind of like we're not open to the possibility. And you're right, the world is moving so quickly. We had AI jump like by leaps and bounds in November. And by March, now we've got ChatGPT running the world, and a lot of the processes and traditional professions are becoming a bit obsolete because
Absolutely.
technology is stepping in. However, if you see the possibility of opening up that sphere of learning like you have, right? And I'm hearing this is your secret sauce. It's the fact that you don't allow yourself to get pigeonholed. And so when you keep yourself in that open space, you figure, okay, things are evolving in a way that might make certain things obsolete, but then opportunity and chaos is rampant. And so how do we take advantage of that? And it could be, let's find a millennial who happens to have
Absolutely.
been
That's
born.
exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. And like you just said, somebody who is just, entering the sphere, is excited, and they're born using an iPad, something like we never thought we would go like this and get so much information. And that skill and that sort of like that quick pace, to grab people in, there's a lot of information at once. And so by, being able to hone in on how do we get that information out there, because that's the way people learn today versus us, one course at a time, one focus at a time, one lane at a time, that I think is the exciting future.
So Renee, I have a question because, I love what you said in the beginning of, working in a place where you sold fruit, and you did learn to actually memorize each and every prize. But you mentioned something about, I learned a way to actually memorize everything. And with so much information, like we're talking about, that is in front of us, what would that tip be that you can give us on how do we retain the information that we want to retain when there's so much coming our way?
For me, it would be, a lot of times, and if you were studying, you would memorize a certain amount of information. But, the key thing is to retain the valued information and let go of something that doesn't serve you, because there's going to be a lot of information, put towards you. And there's going to be those things that, catch you, and that, 20 years from now, you'll remember that one person saying that one thing because it meant something to you and it was of value to you. And a lot of the other stuff, just like let it go. I think that's the thing, so the ability to take in information and then decipher the most valuable thing to you.
Yeah. Coding. It's called coding. So when we take information that's coming into the short-term memory, we code it based on meaning, which is what Renee is saying. Like if I said to you 1, 2, 3, 2 for you could have significant meaning because you have 2 daughters. So all of a sudden you associate 2 daughters with 2. Now you encode it. 5 years from now, someone says 2, and the first thing that comes to the mind's eye is the image of your 2 daughters. This is how you encoded it. But it's a pretty amazing practice that you can actually hone and you can refine. You can use mnemonics, you can use imagery, you can use a whole bunch of different ways to kind of give meaning to mundane information. The other thing too, Renee, I'm certain, it meant the difference between you keeping the job and making your shekels and losing the job because you couldn't get the right exchange of money, right? So
Yeah.
That's the other key too. What's the motivation? Like if the motivation is strong, like you want to make your shekels and it's dependent on you being able to remember certain information, all of a sudden the meaning is there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a great question and a great takeaway for our audience. And we're coming up on time. So Allie, what's that last question that we want to ask Renee before we lose her for this segment?
It's amazing because when we come to this part, it's like, no way, I know Renee a lot more than that. I want her to share it with the world. But, if you do want to hear more of Renee, I was wondering if Renee ever had the idea of writing a book to share with the world all these amazing things.
I have been approached by a dear friend. I think I would be interested in collaborating. I don't know if I'd write an entire book myself, but definitely participate in a collaboration.
There you go.
I love it. That's walking before you run, Renee. That's the best way to do it. You do it with a group, and then you just, before you know it, you want to do it on your own.
I'm
I love
open.
But Jessica, I don't know if you heard in the beginning, Renee did talked about, how it works for her when she surrounds herself with other people where and all of that. I don't know. I kind of heard she wants to come this way. I don't know. I think
no.
Florida's calling you.
Magnetic
Pick
gravity.
it up.
I love it.
Absolutely. I think collaboration is like the natural magnet, right? When you find synergy with other souls on this planet, it's like it's contagious. You want to be around that energy. You want that kind of energy in your day-to-day on a regular, because like everything, we're human beings. We have our ups and downs, and there is this possibility, right, of detachment and loneliness. I mean, they're saying that the generation that was born in the generation in the last 5 years is the loneliest generation in human history, right? Yet we have so many ways to connect. So it's kind of like it's kind of like baffling, right? We have more ways to connect, but yet they're the loneliest generation. And I'm going to tell you, I have no greater joy than to connect with people personally. Like, I connect with their soul, their heart, their minds. I love it. And I can do it through different mediums, like what we're doing right now. But there's something to be said when you connect with soul sisters. Like this weekend, which was our inaugural Soul Sister getaway, was pretty incredible. There was a different level of conscious connection than had been experienced up until this point. And now I'm hooked. It's like the wind. I want more. I want more.
Yes.
Mhm.
I agree with you anymore, Jessica. I mean, it's that difference of, I don't know. I'm a hugger. I love just a good hug. It kind of fulfills my soul when I'm feeling somebody else, whether it's, to know that they're needing something, whether it's for me needing something, but just that touch of somebody else, it definitely fulfills something that this kind of connection doesn't do. But Renee, I couldn't thank you enough for everything that you shared today. I learned a lot, and I'm sure all of our audience are dying to hear even more from you. But unfortunately, we have come to a point of closing it up, but this is not the end. How does people get in touch with you if they had any questions, if they wanted to hear a little bit more about your story, or maybe if they need something from you from your life experience?
I can give you my email address. I'm currently setting up a website. So once that comes in, I'll put that on your link. But reneedavidconsultant@gmail.com.
So we're going to have that on the thread. Everyone can connect. That's pretty ballsy to put your personal email out there in the universe. But we're in a new day. We're at a new beginning, and we're going to have tremendous exposure for this podcast. And as we continue our clarity talks with some of the most successful entrepreneurs and business individuals and our communities. So now I've got extended because we are hailing out of Canada today, this morning. And that is the one beautiful advantage of this medium, right? Even if there's the physical connection that's missing, it's that connection with the world. There are no limits to whom we can bring on Clarity Talks. So Allie,
once again, Clarity Talks, where we get to do what, Jess?
We get to crack the code of some of the most successful people. And we are so privileged to have had Renee with us today.
Thank you
Catch
so
up with
much.
her on the feed, through her email, or on any of our platforms as we continue our mission to interview and keep our minds open and ready to go. Till next time.
Thank you. Until next time.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.
Bye.